Hi, welcome back to our second episode for year 2022. Ang nangyari nga, as I've told you, that we divided this topic, itong seller's due diligence in relation to the Anti-Money Laundering Act. So this is the second part of our discussion. So, of course, I would tell you to please do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for future lecture updates. Let us proceed immediately. Okay, so ngayon, let us talk about the seller. Kung ikaw yung nagbenta ng property. Kasi napag-usapan natin sa first episode, hanggang doon tayo sa drug trafficker, no? Si Pablo Cobarce, nahuli. And now, how about you, Mr. Seller? Ikaw ito. Of course, here you are. Very, very happy. Kasi nga, nabenta mo yung property mo dun sa personality kay drug trafficker, kay Pablo Cobarce. You may or may not know that the money that he paid you comes from unlawful activity and he is trying to launder it. That is a fact na hindi natin ma-discuss natin later on whether you have knowledge or you do not have any knowledge. So of course, what you will do is what will you do with your money? Let's say, you sold your property for 20 million. Suppose, happy ka nga kasi sabi mo, 10 million lang value noon, nabenta ko ng 20 million. So what will you do? Hindi mo naman pwedeng taguin sa bahay, no? Hindi ka makatulog niyan, baka nakawin. So, you will now go to the bank and deposit it. Now, the bank is a covered entity, person, and required to report it to the AMLAC. Number one niyang hingin yan sa'yo. Now, if you are an old client already, yung name and address and business, hindi na niyan tatanungin yan. Ang tatanungin na lang niya yung source of funds. Sir, bakit may 20 million kayo? De-deposit nyo. Kasi nabenta ko yung house ko. Ganun po ba? So, under the law, sabi nga natin, exceeding 500,000, this bank is required to report it to the AMLC. And sabi niya, sir, pahingi ng deed of sale, sir, para justification po ng 20 million under the AMLAC. Oh, no problem. Bigay ka rin ng deed of sale. Kahit na po itatagtag yun to different banks, no? BPO, BPI, punta ka dito sa Land Bank, dito sa East West Bank, i-separate mo yung property, i-breakdown mo. These banks will be requiring the source of funds. So you're going to give different deed of sales. Similar deed of sales, photocopies of the deed of sales, of course, no? And that would be the justification. So, pag-report dun sa AMLAC, papa-flag down yan. Kasi pagpasok sa database, kasi through email lang yung reporting nila So, mapasok sa database, pangalan, sino ang buyer? Let's say, Pablo Cobarce, flag down. Kasi, ano yan siya? Drug trafficker and he's trying to launder his money. Palagay natin hindi kay Pablo Cobarce, shell company niya, PBC Corporation. Yun is na-flag down na yun na shell company yun. Identified na shell company yun ni Pablo Cobarce para doon niya ginagamit mag-launder ang money, doon niya nilalagay ang pangalan. So, flag down na naman. Tapos, suppose, pangalan ng associate niya or trustee niya or kanyang money launderer niya na dummy person niya, malalaman yon doon sa parang crony niya. And naka-flag down yan doon sa database ng AMLC. Kasi nga, may cooperating agency around the world and they feed those shell companies and they keep track of it. No? So the moment it is biglang mag-red flag sa kanilang database, AMLC will, of course, start the inquiry investigation. And if it will be found out that really there is a money laundering involved, then what will happen is that they start the inquiry investigation and start with the prosecution. The first thing that they will do, of course, would be put you into a problematic situation. Even if you're in good faith, sabihin natin hindi mo alam kung ano yung nangyari, is that they're going to start with the freezing of accounts. No? Hihingi yan sila ng freeze order from the Court of Appeals, when they will file a petition for the freezing of the accounts. Of all the accounts of the money launderer, pati yung materially linked accounts, no? Kasi nagkakaroon ng web of accounts yan eh. From one account, magkakaroon ng series of transactions yan, and it will be asked to be frozen by the AMLC sa Court of Appeals. Meron ding mga AMLC issued freeze order wherein yung paspasa na pagpa-freeze, no? Notifying the covered persons, yung bank, na i-freeze mo muna yung account na yan temporarily kasi na-flag down yan, red flag yan sa aming database, yan transaction na yan. Baka kasi malipat ka agad. Kasi fluid nga yung money, di ba? Madali lang ma-transfer from one person to another. So, freeze mo na yan. So, with that, merong AMLC issued freeze order. Although may mga remedies dito, no? If you are really in good faith at hindi ka naman kasali, which I will discuss a little while. Now, ano pang pwedeng maging problematic situation na pwede kang mahulog, no, Mr. Seller? Itong, you may be included in the criminal prosecution for money laundering, no? If the element of knowledge is present. Kailangan kasi alam mo na ang ka-deal mo is that money launderer ni Pablo Cobarce, for example, no? Sa ating example. But mas grabe kapag ikaw pala ang isa sa mga launderer niya, because you allow yourself to be used to your property to be bought by this person para mo-launder ang money because you have knowledge. Take note that the element of knowledge is one of the proofs needed that the prosecution should establish in court. It's a proof beyond reasonable doubt, and one of the element is yung knowledge mo para maging money launderer ka. But for purposes of filing a case in court, probable cause lang ang kailangan nila. And itong element of knowledge may be proven by them by way of direct evidence or circumstantial evidence. So kung may circumstantial evidence sila, let's say, nakita na nag-party-party ka with Pablo Cobarce, cohort ito siya, kasama ito siya sa mga transaction ni Pablo Cobarce, hindi mo naman alam, na-invite ka lang, party goer ka, parang sinasabing circumstantial evidence niyo na you are in sleeping with the bad guys, no, with Pablo Cobarce. So, pwede ka ma-prosecute. Although, you will be later on proving that kung wala kang kasali, you're in good faith. And you may be acquitted. I know that. Because you may hire very good lawyer to do that and everything. But imagine that, the hassles. Na-freeze ang account mo. Possible ma-included ka for criminal prosecution. And you're going to hire a lawyer. It will take time. Sa freeze order lang dati, no? Although ang Court of Appeals is mandated by law to check immediately kung yung account ba na freeze niya is that materially linked ba talaga doon sa money launderer. Kung hindi, automatic tanggal ka agad yan i-unfreeze ka agad yan siya. May mga remedies, no? You file a motion to lift the freeze order kung na-file sa Court of Appeals, or kung ang AMLAC naman ang nag-issue ng freeze order, you can file a petition doon sa Court of Appeals na requesting for the justification bakit naman gi-freeze ito na hindi naman ako kasali sa mga kalokohan na yan. But you see, when you do that, you cannot do it on your own. So you need to hire a lawyer, an expensive one, kasi specializing in anti-money laundering. So you have to go to Court of Appeals, spend so much. Imagine the hassle. And the fact that your account is frozen. Hindi mo magalaw. Paano kung nahalo mo ito ngayon doon sa main account mo na ginagamit mo pang gasto sa bahay, sa school ng mga bata, pagkain, kuryente. Di ba? Although merong remedy nga, sabi ko sa Rules of Procedure ng AMLC, ng AMLA law is that you could file a petition also to release certain amount para sa habang nililitis ang kaso para naman sa panggastos ng pamilya. But imagine that with all the hassles. So, now, dito naman sa possible sa criminal prosecution na na-prosecute ka. Imagine you have to defend yourself. You have to go to court, to trial, and everything to prove that you are not part of this web of transactions, that you are not part of this criminal empire nitong ginagawa ni Pablo Cobarce or part of his money laundering scheme. It will take time. You'll be acquitted, of course, kung talagang in good faith ka. But the question is the hassle it will give you. And also, the hassle because of possibly including those whom you have transacted later on. Okay. Here you are, no? Ikaw yung unang hindi ka pa happy, yung nagbebenta ka pa. And you have, katapos na ng Pasko, New Year, nagpadala ka, siyempre, nagkaroon ka ng 20 million, di ba? Yung story natin. Padala ka ng pera sa mga kamag-anak. Tapos, ginawa mo through bank transfer. Tapos, yun ang pinakamadali na paraan yan eh. Send money, bank transfer, Palawan, GCash, mga ganyan. No? Pero pag mga kamag-anak, sometimes, mas mabilis kung bank transfer na lang. Pagkatapos, may iba, nag-transact ka, bumili ka ng mga sasakyan. Siyempre, may pera ka na, bibili ka ng lupa and everything. Then, technically speaking, and what you did was to do it by way of money transfer or baka nag-exceed ng 500,000, na-report din yung transaction na yon doon sa AMLAC, no? Ng bank, ng nakatransact mo. Kasi siyempre, kung kumuha sila ng pera sa iyo sa transaction, and they will also deposit in the bank. So, ito yung materially linked web of accounts, no? Na sinasabi sa rules ng AMLAC na related accounts daw ito sila. Bakit related accounts? Kasi, the intricate and diverse web of interlocking accounts that a person may create, no? Sa isang transaction lang galing kay Pablo Cobarce, papunta sa iyo, tapos papunta pababa sa katransact mo. That account that a person may create in different covered persons, and the high probability that these accounts are utilized to divert, move daw, at makonceal at madisguise ang monetary instrument. Sabi ng batas is that ang AMLAC may include in its petition the freezing of related and materially linked accounts. So, yung related and materially linked accounts lang naman. Pag hindi naman related, of course, i-unfreeze din yan siya, pero mapi-freeze. So, imagine yung pinag-transactionan mo, pinagbibigyan mo ng pera ng mga kamag-anak mo dahil mga loved ones mo and everything. Temporarily, ma-freeze sila. Although later on, ma-unfreeze kasi hindi naman sila materially linked account. Now, I have an example. I have a friend, a dentist, no? Dentista po siya. Lapit siya sa akin, attorney, may problema ako. Bakit man? Pinadala ako ng letter ng BDO na freeze na yung account ko dahil meron akong transaction na binayaran ako through bank transfer ng nagpabunot ng ngipin sa akin. Magkano? Sabi ko. Sabi niya, 5,000. Sabi ko, what? Bakit nangyari ganun? 5,000 na. So I was thinking, sino ba yung pasyente mo? Sabi niya, it's a civil engineer. So I was thinking na probably the civil engineer was working with someone or probably building a house or construction for this particular person. And that person could have been a money launderer or the connected with the let's say Pablo Cobarce or for that bad guy, and with that associate of his, yung associate naman nagpagawa ng bahay, parang crony nung criminal, tapos buka ng bahay, tapos ang ginamit niya na pambayad doon sa civil engineer is through bank transfer din, yan, no? And the engineer, what he did, yung karami niyang transaction, nagbili siya ng construction materials doon sa sa isang sa isang hardware company using bank transfer also, mga supplies, tapos yun nga, isa rin yung nung pabunot siya ng ngipin, hindi na daw siya nakadala ng pera, pinadala lang siya ng 5,000 through bank transfer. And ngayon, ang AMLA kasi, so na-flag down yun, immediately files a petition with the Court of Appeals to freeze all related material link accounts. Ang gagawin yan, idadamay lang yan lahat nila eh. Hindi naman nila isa-isahin kasi sa bilisan yan eh. Kaya nga, the rule says, ang court will be required to check immediately kung ano ba yung material link. Oh, bakit merong bunot ng ngipin dito? Hindi na to kasali. So, unfreeze. Well, true. Sabi ko sa kaibigan ko na, just wait for a while. But it took her about 1 to 2 weeks bago na unfreeze motu proprio ng Court of Appeals ang kanyang account. No? But imagine for 2 weeks niya na gamit yung pera niya. So, yun ang hassle that it may create. No? So, I want you to be careful with that. So, having said that, I would like to give you some tips. No? Hindi naman ito airtight tip na talagang hindi ka magkakaroon ng problema. But at least baka makatulong. Alright, preventive tips or measures for AMLA purposes. Number 1 is that know if the sale transaction is suspicious. Alam naman talaga natin kung medyo kaduda-duda ang transaction. No? Hindi naman, common sense dictates na something is wrong here. No? If your box says parang meron. Hindi ko sinasabing huwag magpatuloy kasi we really need to sell, but at least be suspicious and okay, pag-aralan further, deeper investigation. And then what you will do is to know the buyer and his buying character, no? Kasi take note that there are 3 kinds of buyers, no? Itong compulsive buyers, typical buyers, and frugal buyers. Itong compulsive, they buy without hesitation, no? Impulse buying yan. Tapos later on, pagtapos nila bili, doon na sila magsisi. But they are still legitimate buyers, no? Meron din tayong typical buyers, they spend on what they believe is appropriate and they weigh their options and decide on whether or not it is a good investment. So, yan yung mga typical buyers, no? And meron naman tayong frugal buyers. Itong frugal buyers nga, yung kuripot. Hindi ng kuripot. These are people with a tendency of holding on to and saving their money as long as they can, as opposed to spending it. Ayaw nilang gumasto. Mas mabuting gusto nilang i-keep it and save it rather than spend it. So, ito yung mga people. Magbili lang yan sila pag very important and needed na talaga. Hindi na wants, need yan. Sa compulsive buyer, wants. No? Now, but what I want you to be aware of is you have to be aware of the pseudo buyer na they disguise themselves as a buyer. Either sa ABC na yan. Legitimate buyer sila. But they are technically, actually, money launderers. No? They try to clean the dirty money to become clean money. So, usually, itong mga buyers na ito, ng mga money launderer, they are actually parang compulsive buyers. Wala yan silang tawad-tawad, bilihan sila ng bili. Basta lang makakuha ng maraming real property. Kahit saan lang, just to dispose of the dirty money. And parang naglaland bank lang yan sila. So, yan ang delikado na buyer na bantayan po ninyo at maging maingat, no? Baka madamay kayo sa kanilang kalokohan sa pag-launder ng money. Alright. Now, another one is preventive tip is, kung malaki ang transaction, why don't you ask manager's check as payment? Kasi manager's checks in the commercial world is considered as cash, no? So, pag medyo malaki-laki na yung amount, manager's check na po. Tsaka aside from the fact na katakot naman magdala ka ng, let's say, kahit na 5 million or 10 million, dalhin sa law office kayo nagbayaran, dala mo yung pera, nakakatakot, no? So, but it should be a legitimate manager's check, no? And the manager's check, you have to call the bank, no? And ask if really there was an issuance for this. So, what is this manager's check? Ito yung drawn against under the name of the bank, no? So, ibig sabihin, it is drawn against the bank for you as a payee And therefore, ibig sabihin, funded yun kasi may pera naman ng bangko. No? So, take out of that, pwede po ang manager's check. Pero di ko sinasabi na huwag kayo magtanggap ng cash. Kung nagtitiwala naman kayo, no problem, no? Kung kilala niyo yung tao and everything. But sabi ko, pinaka-safest way is to manager's check. So, kasi considered as good as cash man din yan siya. No? Immediately, you could have it withdrawn, and the moment you deposit it, immediately considered as cash po yan siya. In the commercial world po. Alright. Now, take note kasi kung manager's check ang i-demand mo as payment for you, take note na meron tayong bank due diligence. No? Ang bangko kasi required under the law to conduct due diligence. So, kung may bibili po ng manager's check sa kanila, yung kliyente, normally, ang kliyente magsabi, sige, manager's check kung gusto mong payment, sige, may sa bangko ko na lang. Okay. Sa bangko, tatanungin yung source of funds So, usually, ang bank niyan, sala na yan. So, kung mag-issue ng manager's check ang bangko, ibig sabihin, nakakandak na sila ng due diligence kung sino itong tao na ito na hingi or nagpa-issue ng manager's check. So, at least medyo kampante na tayo pag ganun, di ba? Kasi under the AMLAC, the bank is required for due diligence purposes to conduct due diligence on these clients of theirs, no? In fact, for corporate clients nila, meron din stricto nga ang due diligence nila dito, yung certificate of registration issued by the DTI para for single proprietorship or sa SEC for corporation and partnership. Meron pa silang mga articles of incorporation, latest GIS, kompleto yan. Yan ang hinihingi ng mga bangko when you open an account. So, if coming from that bank, ang manager's check, ibig sabihin, dumaan na ito sa sala process ng due diligence ng bank. Alright. And, of course, kung check ang payment, remember that check operate as payment only when it is in cash. So, be careful with this. Unless kung kilala mo ang tao, then you could accept for check payment. And it should not be cross-check kasi kung cross-check, for deposit sa account mo, per your PS account. But if you don't know the person and you do not trust the person and first time mo lang na-meet, the best thing is yung manager's check because it is good as cash. Or cash if you simply trust the person. Alright? So, yun ang transaction. But for me, as I said, I prepare manager's check. Legitimate manager's check. Alright. And, of course, kung installment sale naman ang transaction, kasi baka pakunwari pa installment sale, take note of these things, no? Ang down payment, kung pwede, manager's check din, kung malaki, no? Post-dated checks issued, no? Kasi pag may cheque nga, dumaan na rin bago ma-issuehan ka kasi ng cheque, dadaan ka rin ng rigid requirements ng bank, no? Of identifying you as the applicant for a check. Hindi ka basta-basta ma-issuehan ng cheque. Try nyo magkuha ng cheque, mahirap po. Maraming requirements ng bangko. And no possession until full payment. Ibig sabihin, wag mo muna ibigay ang possession doon sa kanya hanggang hindi pa naka-fully paid, no? Tsaka pag hindi nga matuloy ang bayad, may provision for liquidated damages or forfeiture ng payments niya, ng down payment. Kailangan mo to protect yourself as a seller. And there must be a provision that it will be binding to the heirs of the parties in case something happens to them, no? Case of death, incapacity, tuloy pa rin ang usapan. And of course, do not allow undervaluation because that is considered as tax evasion. Hindi po yan tax avoidance, that is tax evasion, and that is criminally punishable under the law. And finally, deal only with a licensed real estate broker, meaning licensed by the Professional Regulation Commission. Because kami, we are required by law to conduct due diligence. So at least, napasa mo na yung burden, no? So seller, kung gusto kayo magpatulong magbenta, deal or talk or at least ask help from a licensed real estate broker by the PRC. Okay? They will conduct the due diligence for you. Okay. And remember that under the RESA law, Republic Act 9646, unlicensed brokers and unregistered salespersons are prohibited from offering to sell or lease real estate properties. May penalty po, may kulong provision po yan. And meron pong fine and imprisonment. So with that, I'm finished with my discussion on seller's due diligence. And disclaimer lang po, kasi that's my opinion and my tip just to how to help you. I hope it will help you. And I will see you soon in our next episode. And muchas gracias. Danke. Maraming salamat po.